Heavily laden log barges head downstream for Kinshasa, the capital of the Democratic Republic of Congo. From Kinshasa, the logs are shipped to foreign markets, mainly in Europe. International logging companies are rushing to extract timber from the Congo Basin rainforest. This spectacular tropical rainforest of Central Africa is the second largest on Earth after the Amazon. 2/3 of the remaining intact forest lies within the DRC. The Congo Basin has a greater variety of plants and animals than any other forest region in Africa. In addition, it plays a critical role in stabilizing the global climate by absorbing and storing carbon. About 40 million people of the DRC depend on the forest for their livelihood. Supported by the World Bank and international donors, the government has encouraged industrial logging. Logging is seen as a way to help alleviate poverty and stimulate economic development.
With regard to the work of the World Bank, we're very much focused on poverty reduction, which is also linked with our commitment to sustainable development and our interest in promoting responsible economic growth. We see all three of them tied together.
One of the World Bank's policies has been to formalize the so-called social responsibility contracts between loggers and local communities in the DRC. These contracts are supposed to help local people benefit from logging. In the Bandundu region, the villagers of Loa-Ipeke welcomed the logging companies when they first arrived. But like many other forest communities, they've seen virtually none of the benefits promised in the contracts signed between logging companies and local people.
Kobanda mazoko lwa ipeketivu na mutu moka zana musala tekaka batu misala bazana musala bongo toko vivre na ndenge ni.
In the riverside town of Tolo, landowners have gathered to discuss the problems caused by the contracts they signed with logging companies. Most of them don't know what their land is worth. They've been paid next to nothing for access to their forests.
C'était la moitié d'un casier de bière, un sac de sucre. Un sachet de sucre de 5 kilos divisé par 2, 6 barres de savon, encore quoi. Un sac de sel, à 2 aussi à diviser. C'était ça.
A local landowner stares helplessly at his signature on a logging contract. He speaks only the local Lingala language, but the logging company told him to sign the contract, which was written in French. Under the World Bank reforms, the Forest Law of 2002 stipulates that 40% of forest area taxes from logging operations are reinvested locally. But critics say that in practice, all the taxes collected since 2003 have simply disappeared.
Rien n'arrive à la base et ça prouve le niveau de dégradation des conditions au niveau des provinces. L'administration n'est pas en mesure de faire le travail qu'il est censé de faire. Donc rien n'est rétrocédé malgré que le code est clair là-dessus.
The tax revenue from logging is supposed to repair neglected roads like this. At a clinic in Tolo, families and their babies rest in a derelict ward. Without adequate medical equipment, this nurse has to work alone, caring for thousands of patients. Teachers in Beleli use anything they can lay their hands on to educate local youngsters. In the poorly built school, there are only makeshift seats and blackboards.
Vraiment, tout est mauvais. Nous n'avons pas vraiment une très bonne condition. Les enfants étudiaient vraiment avec des difficultés. Les enfants étudiaient avec des difficultés. À propos de cela, on nous a dit qu'il y a des contrats, mais tous ces contrats ne sont pas respectés.
As part of the World Bank reforms, the DRC introduced a moratorium both on new logging titles and the renewal or extension of existing ones. The government has also started a legal review of all the current logging titles covering 21 million hectares, an area 7 times the size of Belgium. Pierre Metteau leads the international team observing this legal review. He spoke to Greenpeace while in Brussels to attend an international conference on the future of the rainforest. Metteau says many titles are illegal and have been granted in breach of the moratorium.
Il y a eu au cours des dernières années beaucoup de titres qui ont été alloués en contradiction avec le moratoire sur l'attribution des titres forestiers. D'autre part, il y avait des titres forestiers qui avaient été attribués dans le passé aussi, qui n'avaient pas respecté les règlements en vigueur à l'époque. Donc, il s'agit pour nous de faire un peu l'élagage des titres pour, évidemment, faire en sorte que les titres illégaux soient résiliés. C'est beau résilier un titre sur papier, mais faut-il encore que les opérations sur le terrain cessent. Compte tenu des capacités assez restreintes de l'administration, et particulièrement en région, ils n'ont aucun véhicule, un moyen de transport, etc.
Ezali mwa pasi mingi po ya bapesa biso bamikanda wana kutambola na misala na biso mingi ozokomona kaka badistance ya ndenge boye kutambola na makolo ezali mer à boire il faut kaka biso moko kende osala mwa moke osala location ya bavelo à votre propre frais oya kokoma papa. La raison pour laquelle nga na banda koluka ke nazo atasiki ponga mona sala comparaison ndenge tomonaka na ndenge ezali kokende place wana ndebatu biso kaliwa.
The environmental group Greenpeace says the World Bank reforms will do little to improve the plight of communities dependent on the forest and its biodiversity.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of wishful thinking in the promises that the World Bank make. For example, in Cameroon, we've seen that after 10 years of forest reform, the World Bank promises has still not delivered. The communities are as poor as they were before, and despite new forest laws, most of the forests are still managed in a very destructive way. We are calling for the maintenance of that moratorium until a proper land use plan has been put in place that benefits the local communities and conserves biodiversity.
The DRC government lacks even the basic infrastructure to regulate and control the logging industry. Without urgent support from international donors, the forests of the DRC will be cut down, floated downriver, and exported for sale.